Hi, and welcome to another episode of Art World Confessions. Today I'm going to speak about something which from time to time we hear it talked about in the art world, and it has to do with paying artists a stipend, or what some countries would probably consider universal basic income. It's different, a universal basic income and stipend, but for the purposes of this discussion, let's just say that America did have something like universal basic income. I mean, countries like Germany, countries like Sweden, countries like Switzerland, who are somehow more economically developed, I suppose, certainly more culturally developed in terms of how much they support the arts and artists, they have something where, for example, during the pandemic, artists didn't just go starving because they couldn't sell or they couldn't meet or they couldn't do things. There was money available for them to live and to continue to pay for the day-to-day expenses and to continue their work. And we have to think to ourselves, well, when we see the work in the galleries that's coming out from wherever it's coming out of, how do these people survive to produce these works? And how much pressure is put on them, whether in their own personal lives or from the gallery, to produce stuff that will actually sell and can actually support their life wherever they live. I mean, not everyone is living in an expensive place like New York City, but I know for myself, from artists who are living here, that very often they have to make compromises, whether it's to find a studio that's like way far out there, or whether it's to have a job 9 to 5 and then do their work after they leave from their office or wherever they're working, or to do their work on the weekend. And maybe if they didn't have the stress and the strain of economic insecurity, they could produce more and better work. I mean, just looking the other day at some of the new acquisitions, these young artists coming out of programs and getting into major galleries, 20-something years of age, cute, female, male, whatever. What they do have in common is some level of economic security that has allowed them to produce this work en masse and to spend time and to network and to get out there to meet the people who can get them to the places where they are now. So what we're seeing in the gallery is not necessarily what's the best thing out there, it's what's been the most economically supported and therefore able to find its way through whatever means they do find their way onto these gallery walls. And I mean, if you think back into art history, I'm sure there are a lot of examples of artists who have come from well-to-do backgrounds and who have created great artworks. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm not saying that great works can come out of an economically secure background. I'm just saying that there might be more and different and sometimes maybe better art that comes from people who have been working and struggling for years, and that work then becomes richer for it. I'm thinking also of some other market darlings that have come out of those places that I just mentioned, places like Sweden or Switzerland or Germany, and I'm sorry, for me they don't work. Maybe they work for the collectors, maybe they work for people who are buying and selling at auction houses, but some of them are really, to use an expletive, effing boring works. I mean, the paintings that you see, and again, I always reference this collector who says he doesn't, this contemporary collector, huge collection, very well valued aesthetically and financially. And he always says he's not buying any contemporary painting because nobody's adding anything to the art historical dialogue. And for the most part, I really think he's right, and a lot of it is just boring, bad painting. But hey, the market's gotta sell something, so why not the new, young, hot, blonde person out of wherever, who knows where they're coming from. But that's it for today's episode. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when I upload another episode of Art World Confessions. I'm not sure how many more I'll do of these. There was something else I wanted to talk about as well, but I'll put it on another episode. Just, more of the confusion aspect of the art world where people are making verbal agreements with each other, and then at the end of the day not honoring it, or worse, bad mouthing people. I mean, this has been happening for years, but like I said, I'll probably talk about that on another episode because it's not really related to what I just spoke about here. I did, however, go the other night to a concert of a Cuban African American artist. He was born in Cuba, he's of African descent, and now he lives in America. And he's the one who gave me that idea because he spoke about growing up in Cuba and how 2 years ago there was a huge protest because everyone gets paid some sort of living stipend in Cuba, and the artists were up in arms because the government was saying they were going to decide what was art from now on. And that goes back into the whole history of art from the last century, where during the Nazi regime they had this whole thing called degenerate art, and they were deciding what was art and what was not. So I think for him, this idea of being paid as an artist really helped in his society, for them to do good art and to live in a relaxed way to produce art. And no matter what you think about Cuba, I think everyone acknowledges that there is some level of artistry that comes out of there, which some parts of the world just don't have. And part of it is probably because of that political UBI that, for the most part, the Western world doesn't in any way, shape or form support, except when it comes to these artists. Anyways, that's it for today's episode. I hope to see you again on another episode of Art World Confessions. Have a great week.